Okay, great. Thank you. Welcome. This is Senate Institutions Committee, and it is Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. And we are taking testimony from the Department of Corrections, and it's regarding H790, which is an act relating to fiscal year 2026 budget adjustments. And even though our capital bill is also called a budget adjustment, this is a different budget adjustment. So I just want to be very clear about what we're discussing, because it hasn't been in this committee in a little while. So we have with us John Mura, interim commissioner. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And if you want to come.
And if I may also, I'd like to be joined by, with your permission, our finance director. Okay.
And we'll introduce ourselves once you're all set there.
Actually, you can have this seat, I'll swap. Yeah, most of that is the way.
Sure.
Here.
Thank you.
Great. So I'm Wendy Harrison. I represent the Wyndham District.
And I'm Rob Buckett from the Benson District.
Joe Major, Windsor District.
Senator Russ Ingles, Essex District for the city folks. John Benson, Orange District.
Great. So thank you. And I think you have presentations. Do you want them to be on the? Hi. Okay, this goes right up there. Everybody all connected. Okay, great.
So this is the summary.
Okay, great.
You want to start?
No, please.
Okay. Okay, so this is our FY26 budget adjustment summary. And the total budget increase is $8,847,278, which is 3.83% from the SFY 26 as passed of $230,877. And the total net general fund increase is $6,292,278, which is 2.84% from SFY 26. Going through the ups and downs, correctional services has an increase of 5.9 million for GF, 55,000 for special fund, which is pilot increase request, and 2.5 million GCF global commitment with a decrease of general fund by 2.5 million. And that is for the random motion time study that we're now doing with probation and parole. So that's why there's.
Do you mind getting questions as you go along? Because I think that would be helpful. There's
Okay.
a lot of new words. It's if you can, I think you were talking about the section B338. Is that what you're
Yes.
referencing now? Okay, so I just want to point to that. So we have a spreadsheet
Yes.
and there's different funds on the spreadsheet. So something I would like to know more about is the global commitment, which I believe is the last one of the columns. I mean, before the total.
Yes.
It seems like it has the right number. So if you could explain that, it would be helpful.
So, and you could cut it at any time. My understanding, I started in June, but my understanding is that this is a new program for corrections. And that is because we are now doing this random moment time study, which is required when you want to access global commitment or Medicaid money.
Okay,
And before, the way that we were doing it was not necessarily capturing all the activities that were allowed, the allowable activities to obtain enough funds. And now we are actually following the random moment time study for probation and parole officers who are, when they're dealing with something, they're taking someone and it has to deal with medical. So that's why it qualifies. So they have to track their time very closely and carefully. And when we report that, we've already started to report that for this fiscal year. So it takes some pressure off the general fund.
okay.
And puts it into the global commitment.
So it looks like it might not even be a revenue.
It's a
Oh, the
wash.
total-
It's a wash.
It's the same,
It is a
right?
wash.
Okay, you're just putting it from, you're getting it from another source, which is
Because-
actually good.
Correct, because the general fund, the Medicaid aspect of it has to go into the general committee.
Okay, so that's great that either you or someone in finance
It was before my
realized
time,
that.
Kristen most likely.
And all that, Deputy Commissioner, now Deputy Commit, well, she was at the time as well, but Deputy Commissioner Calver was in the financial director position for many years and also occupied that spot even as a deputy commissioner for some time.
Wow.
Marlene was able to come aboard. But it really does own, I think, the kudos for some of these committees.
Right, so that's very helpful
Yes.
to have that
Very
funding.
much so.
Okay, great.
Okay. Did you want me to go over anything else?
Well, the
Creative.
well path and the sheriff. Because we talked about in the summer committee, we talked a lot about transport and what a challenge that is. So I'm interested in the funding, but also understanding if things are getting better.
Sure. These are different kinds of transports. So this is a transport for extradition when somebody is apprehended out of state or comes into custody of another law enforcement agency or Department of Corrections out of state, but it should be in ours. And we send somebody out to get that person because that person's absconded from our supervision. So it's not the same as the transport issues that I think have been front of mind for a lot of people owing to issues around how we get people to and from corrections and court.
Right. Okay, so follow-up question. So do we have more of these extraditions?
Has there been a greater number? Do you,
Yes.
do you have the data on that?
And this is not
Just
ICE,
for
right?
the Windsor Sheriff, I don't have the increase of 83,000 that she's discussing.
This has nothing to do with federal detainees.
Right, just
This
wanted to
isn't-
double check that.
Correct. No, this is, and it's not, while the Windsor Sheriff is the sheriff that we use most often for this, they are not the only office that we use for this.
Okay. All right, so then if you could just speak to the other transports, if you're able to, and if you can't, because I know that wasn't what you were planning, because it's not this, but I thought
Other
I-
transports
I
in what way?
just the transports to the courts primarily.
So, transport to and from court is a sheriff's responsibility. We know that there has been, a certain amount of pressure on that. A component of the Burlington 14-point plan that was rolled out by the governor included, a pretty collaborative, all hands on deck effort, not only by the sheriffs, but also through Vermont Emergency Management and through the Vermont State, well, the Department of Public Safety, primarily the state police, but also aspects of DMV and their law enforcement entities and corrections to say, if we run into a problem with regard to the volume of transports from the so-called accountability court, 3B courtroom, to correctional facilities, can we handle that? The fact is we never actually did get to the point of needing resources other than those of the sheriff. VEM, the Vermont Emergency Management Team, was there because initially the government's approach to what was going on in Burlington was to pursue it as if it were a natural disaster or emergency, and hence VEM's involvement. But again, we never really got to that. Certainly if the success, what I personally believe, to be honest, be clear, I'm speaking personally, what I personally believe to be the success of the 3B courtroom in Burlington, if that is to be rolled out in other locations, we may find ourselves with other kinds of transport problems that didn't ultimately raise their head in Burlington. But that's something that we're working on. And that's very much separate from this budget request.
Right. So when you come back and we talk about the other budget and just general operations, let's discuss, or let's hear from you about the other, the remaining transports, because that I know that is an issue in our counties.
Yeah, transport is not something that DOC does. DOC is not responsible for transport to and from court. That's a function of generally the sheriffs or the court. Exceptions are with regard happen with federal detainees and not immigration federal detainees, but federal detainees. And the other piece, of course, is that rather than running transportation, what DOC has ultimately assumed responsibility for over the past several years, owing to changes that occurred rapidly during the pandemic, is essentially running 14 courts in each of our 6 facilities.
Exactly.
We are running those courtrooms in the sense of having remote court. Rarely do sheriffs come in order to stand, essentially watch over that de facto courtroom. Normally, that is ultimately the role of somebody in the facility who therefore is not doing what that person normally should be doing,
Right.
whether it is case management or floor work or what have you. And so while we certainly are tuned to the challenges of transportation and want to be participatory and collaborative and helpful with that, particularly if what was experienced in Burlington in the 3B courtroom is expanded to other areas in the state, we are under a lot of pressure of our own with regard to staffing, taking on the responsibility that used to be a sheriff's responsibility or in a physical courtroom, but instead is happening in our facilities and is there. So
Exactly. And that's my concern, actually. I mean, I may have, we're talking about the same thing. Because the transports didn't happen during COVID, people got used to that system and that system has issues. So
yes,
so let's talk about that when you come back.
absolutely. We'd be happy to do that.
Good. All right. So, okay.
You want to talk about WellPath, which is.
Yeah, but did you talk about WellPath yet? I was gonna give you a chance to discuss it first.
So we had the sheriff's transports, which we went over, which is the increase of 83,000 for expeditions. And then we have the WellPath staffing contract amendment, and this is for is for medical services for the incarcerated population. Only in state. And when the contract was originally set up, it was started with 1250, and then since the population has increased. So there had to be an amendment to increase that population, and then the cost that was also goes along with that. In addition to which 1.2 of this 4.5 increase is for the substance abuse program, the Burlington Recovery Project.
Okay, the 1.2. So
there's 4.550, and out of that, there's the ADP is 3.349, the adult average daily population cost increase, which is ADP is 3.3, and then the Burlington Response Recovery Project program budget increase is 1.2, and that's to stand up 7 employees. Not for us, but under WellPath.
As you know, we've seen double-digit increases percentage-wise in our in the number of both detainees and sentenced persons in our custody over just the past year, and so that double-digit percentage rise has necessitated that our average daily population has risen from what we initially contracted with WellPath. This essentially covers that expansion. We're asking more of them. We naturally need to compensate them more accordingly. The other piece of it, however, that 1.2 million comes from our desire as a component of initially the 14-point plan in Burlington, but ultimately our goal for the entire state of increasing the level of treatment that we provide with regard to persons suffering from substance abuse disorder. The ways in which the DOC currently provides what was called MAT, or what is now more usually called MOUD, are, I believe, laudatory. I think it's impressive that we've done what we've done. We've had incredible, success with that. Just over half of the people in our custody are receiving MOUD, but there's more to be done if we want to approach what the community level of care is with regard to not merely ameliorating symptoms by virtue mostly of Suboxone or buprenorphine, but also getting at the reasons that people suffer from this disease and the ways in which you can treat that disease therapeutically and not merely medicinally. That requires additional personnel. It requires an expansion of the contract. That's what that money is for. It was initially applicable really only to our facilities at Chittenden Regional Correctional Facility for women and Swanton at the Northwest State Correctional Facility for men, because those were the places that were going to be taking folks from the Burlington 3B court. We've I think the number from that court has been around 20. It actually went into our facility. So it has not been what I think some people feared, that, you know, of this 100+ people that had 5 or more dockets, that 80% of them, 70% of them might end up actually in jail. That has not been the case. They are under supervision, the majority of them. So it has not been a negligible load on the Department of Corrections. Our probation and parole offices absorb a lot of these folks, but it has not resulted in a tremendous increase in headcount in the facilities, which is a good thing, right? We don't want prison to be the first and only answer by any means. But for those for whom it was, we wanted to ensure that if substance abuse was a component of their having 5 dockets, which we believe to be the case, and in fact proved to be so, we wanted to ensure that we were offering additional kinds of treatment beyond what we currently, and this is a means of rolling that out.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So there's 3 separate numbers about that, all right? So the increased average daily population, so that's 25 people.
Well,
Where the
actually,
25 people go, no, that's okay, how does that connect to the 4.5 million?
the 4.5 million, so we did increase the top. Well, when we did the amendment, we increased the top to 1550 because we were gonna do it to 1525 as the top. But the actual amendment took us from 1250 population. That was how the original contract was written, and there hadn't been anything put in for if the population should increase, you know, there would be this much added, so, or percentage wise, and none of that happened. So we had to do a contract amendment because of the fact that the population had increased so much.
So the amendment was from 1200.
1250 to a top of 1550.
Okay,
But it's actually, the calculation is done on 1500. It's an average between 1525 and 1550.
okay, and that's the 4.5 million.
That's 3.3 of that.
Okay, so that's what I was trying to figure out.
Yes, it is 3.3. The 1.2 is the substance abuse, the response recovery project.
Okay, and that's for folks who are in the facilities now.
Affirmative.
Okay. All right. We're getting there. So, anyone else have questions?
Just one question. I'm just curious, is there a way that you're tracking the success of the treatment?
The additional treatment?
Yeah.
Not yet. This is in the very earliest stages. It's pretty inchoate right now, pretty nascent. And so, no, we do not yet have a way of doing that. But that's a terrific question and frankly, I may be speaking out of turn. It would not surprise me if the health team has in fact been contemplating how to do this, but we have not yet had enough throughput to have any data in that respect.
Thank you.
Okay, so then there's a well path transfer.
Yes, and this is carried forward from 25. We had a payment that needed to be made, but we had to shut down early due to ET buys. And so the monies were carried forward, and AHS had them, and it also had to do with some additional funds from the AAC that were being held. So it's net neutral. This is just because they require this to be mechanically on our 26 BAA in order to receive it into our budget. But it is not additional. It's not new money. It's existing money.
Okay, the 3.1 million.
Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. Any questions on it? Okay.
And the next one is the revenue offset, the GC increase, the global commitment increase to offset the general fund, which we talked about. That's with the random moment time study statistic that we're tracking.
Right, and so will that continue next year?
That's our plan.
Great.
To continue that, yes.
Great. Thank you.
All right, operating services, the water sewer bill for SSCF. There had been an agreement that is now expired, that we did not have to pay it, but it did expire, so now we have to pay the cost, so that's why there's an increase of 100,000.
So just a quick question. So is that your total bill for the year?
That is my understanding, yes.
That's the increase. Is that the total?
That's the, is that we were, I can double check that. My understanding is that's the total amount for the year. It's not an increase.
Of that.
Right.
item.
So I'm sorry,
That's okay.
I'm not being very clear. So it's not an increase. It's not like we're going from that we're gonna just pay over 100,000 or whatever. It is an increase to that line item from 0 to 100,000 for this particular item.
And that's an agreement with
Okay.
the town.
Yeah.
And are you going to have another agreement or is this the way it's going to be?
I believe this is the way it's going to be. I don't know that we can ask if we can.
Believe those agreements date back to the creation when the facility was constructed in the very early 2000s, about 25 years ago. And these have basically sunsetted. It has also to do with some complicated agreements around the property that surrounds the facility and the ways in which Springfield town can use that property. So I don't know the answer to that right now. My guess is that this is going to be an annual cost going forward. I cannot remember off the top of my head whether of the FY27 budget.
It is.
It is, so.
You'll see the FY.
Okay, because in many of our areas, the prisons pay more than the regular bill. The town is kind of a subsidy. So this is interesting. Okay.
The next item is an increase to an existing pilot fund, which is under special fund. So we currently receive pilot fund money for 2 facilities, Southern and Newport. And we've been paying, we've been paying that fund, out of that fund for both facilities, but there's been additional money we've had to charge the general fund that has never been budgeted, which we pay it, of course, but it's not been a budgeted component. So we're now asking to increase the pilot fund so that we don't have to hit the general fund for that 55,000, which is the difference. So it's going to increase up 55,000 to 207,000.
Okay, and so that'll be in the operating, all right, you have that noted.
Yes,
Okay, and that's the payment in lieu of taxes, right, to the
Right.
town
right.
of Springfield.
The 2. That's important.
It's Newport as well, so it's Newport.
Oh, Newport and
Slippery.
Springfield, okay.
Yes. Okay, the next item under operating services is staff hotel costs, and they are hotel costs for short turnarounds for staff transporting. This has been something we've been doing, but it has not been budgeted again. And so this is an increase of 225,000 general fund.
Much better to budget it if you expect to need it.
And we do expect to continue to need it. We've been able to defray that cost significantly by moving a lot of our transport duties and hospital duties, because transport includes from a facility to a hospital, to a central operations division or COD, so that we no longer pluck people from a facility when we know our facilities are understaffed in order to sit with a single individual at a hospital, for example. Instead, they come from this central division. But those central division folks are people who live in various parts of the state and are oftentimes asked to go long distances, whether it's to, if there's a hospital, if Springfield can handle a person from Springfield, great. But sometimes that's not the case. And Springfield Hospital has to say, no, we cannot address the needs of this incarcerated individual from Springfield facility. So instead we take them to Dartmouth or even Albany at times, as far away as that. So these are bills that are necessary for that kind of work, as well as fly-ins. At times we use that central operations division as well for understaffing. We had a pronounced understaffing issue at Northern for a while. And so members of the COD were available to us to sort of patch shifts. But if they're going to do that if they're going to do a 12-hour shift or a 16-hour shift and then be expected to do another 16-hour shift with less than 8 hours in between, we offer them a hotel.
Good. Thank you.
The next item is heat mitigation, which is DSC policy 322. This includes equipment such as fans, clothing, breathable warm weather short sleeve shirts, water, and other cold refreshments related to policy 322 and the BOSHA recommendations. And that's an increase of $60,000.
Good, thank you. So this is for the staff, I presume?
Yes.
You
You don't have as many options for the population.
Yeah.
And that is troubling to us.
and we've talked about that in this
Yes.
committee for years, actually. So there is money there to put, we were saying air conditioning.
These aren't air,
Couple years
these
ago.
are box fans.
Yeah.
These are, additional, the staff at Northwest purchased a Slurpee machine, for lack of a better term, a little, mixer that makes ice drinks, and they can come and grab an ice drink. Those are not things that we can make available to the population.
No, I understand. Right. But just noting,
Yes,
that we are concerned and we have put money in previous capital bills.
grateful for that because we're concerned about it too.
Yeah.
And as summers grow, we had a couple runs of really hot weather in
Yeah.
summer of 25.
Exactly. Okay.
The next item is AES, service level agreement transfer from the AHS central office, an increase of 215,000. This is net neutral. It's also, not new money. Again, it's AHS providing us with these funds. So but it has to be in the BAA in order for us to receive it.
Okay.
And the next item, is B339. This is correctional out of state beds. And this is an increase of 389,955 to the GF. This is for the additional out of state beds utilized due to the increased population that was, added to down there, about 30 beds.
About 20, we sent 25 additional. We currently have 150 out of state. The reason that the cap that we articulated with WellPath is 1,550 at its height, even though our current population is 1,650, is because we have those 150 individuals out of state. At one point, there was as many as 400 people out of state. We've certainly reduced those numbers overall, but this past autumn, I did direct that we send an additional 25 down. We had been hovering in the 120, 125 zone for the past few years. We're now at 150, and that really did have to do with the extraordinary increase we saw in our populations over the summer.
Any questions or? So I've heard mixed things about other states. Sometimes we are sending them to,
We are sending them to a single facility in Tallahatchie, Mississippi. It is
okay,
run by a company called Core Civic.
okay. And so what we've been told previously is that we chose that entity because of it matches with our values and our systems, and I'd like to know more about that.
Sure.
We can talk about that when you come back.
I would be happy to talk about that.
That's obviously really important. Other things I want to talk about when you come back are opportunities for instruction and for the inmates to get training. And that's something I hear a lot. We were there yesterday actually at Southern State. And I that's the main comment that I get from folks.
Yeah.
And they're not being whiny.
Nope.
They just want something to do, and they want to improve their situation and be able to go out and have a job and not come back.
Yeah.
So that's what we want too. So I know this committee is ready to help in any way we can.
We want that too. The harshest punishment that's currently offered in these facilities is boredom. And we're aware of that. It's a bored, incarcerated individual. It does not make for it's not a happy individual. That's not we're not doing our mandate, which is to offer efforts at rehabilitation and improving this person's likelihood of success once he or she is released from our custody. And almost every single one of the persons in our custody will eventually be released from our custody. We owe it to them and to ourselves and to our communities to make certain that they are afforded as many opportunities for success as possible. Training is such an opportunity. The loss of our prison industries, the loss of Vermont correctional industries has been terrible.
Yeah.
But the financials simply are not there. If the state were willing, for example, to spend more on office furniture than less, then we could probably go back to providing the majority of office furniture for the state, as we once did many years ago. But I don't see that in the cards when we're all very concerned about other kinds of budgetary factors. And I'm not advocating for anything other than what we've presented as the governor's budget by any means. But that's why those industries have abated and really withered, is the fact that they are simply not economically it's feasible.
Yeah, it would be great to have a long-term analysis of that, because if you add in employees for Vermont companies.
Mhm.
There's a lot of need for that, and so there would be an economic development gain,
Yes,
but we don't measure that because it's harder to measure,
we don't.
but it's real.
Yes.
So, all right, well, more to talk about. Okay,
Thank you all.
I think
very,
we're down, okay. Oh, and actually, did you talk to Maine at all about about a contract?
About a contract for the.
Yeah, because that would also be better for the families, because
That-
it's closer.
You're correct. No, I have not yet reached out to them and I am going to do that when I am out of this committee. Great.
Thank you.
I just have one question, just in terms of the spreadsheet. First time seeing the BAA spreadsheet. I just want to make sure I'm clear. The House did not make any changes from the governor's recommendation.
No, not that, no, they're not provided that there was any changes, so they're using the same line.
That's what it looks like. I just wanted to confirm my reading of the spreadsheet. Thank you.
We were told they were approved as presented.
Great.
Good question. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Yes.
Okay, anything else?